Last night, in the U.S. Capitol, the same building where our freedoms came under assault on July the 6th.
This is my video update on this Saturday, midday, March the 9th. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with the Biden State of the Union address. Let's talk about Nancy's reaction to the Biden State of the Union address. And Pelosi, she called Biden's State of the Union a masterclass. That is what Pelosi said. Biden delivered a masterclass. Here is what Nancy Pelosi posted on Twitter X, if you believe that Nancy Pelosi actually posted this on Twitter X. Most likely it's one of Pelosi's aides. But here is what Pelosi is saying. President Joe Biden's State of the Union address was a masterclass, vigorously presenting his bold vision of progress and possibilities for all American families. Vigorously. They had to throw that word in there. Vigorously, so as to not focus on Biden's deteriorating state. He's vigorous. He's vigorous, and he's delivering a masterclass, or he delivered a masterclass, State of the Union. And after his State of the Union, Biden is so vigorous that he traveled to Pennsylvania. And guess what? Guess what? Biden is not only running for president of the United States, but he is also running for Congress. That is right. Biden told people in Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress. Send me to Congress. I have a message for you. Send me to Congress. He's vigorous. He can be president. He can be in Congress. He can do all kinds of things. That is Joe Bidenopolis. And the Washington Post, actually, they put out an article saying that the ratings or the sentiment about Biden's State of the Union was not so positive. 1 second, let me find this WAPO article. Here we go. The Washington Post, early polling of Biden's State of the Union doesn't quite match the hype. Washington Post actually says in this article that this was the lowest favorability rating or the sentiment of this State of the Union, from like positive to negative. This was the lowest rated in like 25 years. So I don't know about a masterclass. It looks like the American public, they weren't so positive on Biden's State of the Union. But Laken Riley, her mom, she actually replied to Biden and the fact that he messed up the name of Laken Riley. That was probably his biggest gaffe of the evening. And she said that Biden's response was pathetic for getting her daughter's name wrong during the State of the Union address, according to Fox News. It was pathetic, according to Laken Riley's mom. And it was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. And that's being diplomatic, to be quite honest. That's being polite. Because throughout the State of the Union, or at least before the State of the Union, Biden was getting trolled by Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she even handed Biden a pin. Say her name, Laken Riley. And Biden, he came in contact with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was decked out in MAGA merch. And Biden's like, I know her name. He said something like that in passing. I know her name. And then he went and gave the State of the Union. And he was still getting trolled by Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Biden had one opportunity to shut Marjorie Taylor Greene down during the speech. He could have said, I know her name, Laken Riley. And what happened to her was terrible and awful and horrific. And I'm going to pass legislation or this law or something. He could have said something along those lines. So he had one chance to really, really shine, as Marjorie Taylor Greene was pressing him, was trolling him to say her name. And what does Biden do? He picks up the pin that MTG gave him, and he says Lincoln Riley. Pathetic, man. That's being polite. Anyway, let's shift gears now and talk about EU troops in Ukraine. Boy, Macron, he really got the ball rolling on the EU troops in Ukraine discussion, the EU troops in Ukraine narrative, and this is the big story in Europe over the past week or so. And yesterday, we had Pistorius, the defense minister of Germany, travel to Finland and to meet his counterpart in Finland, the defense minister of Finland. And Pistorius said that there will be no German troops on the ground in Ukraine. He said, quote, "Nobody really wants to have boots on the ground in Ukraine." That is the exact quote from Pistorius. And he also said that all of this discussion about troops on the ground in Ukraine should stop. And the defense minister of Finland said, and I quote, "Nobody is now supporting boots on the ground." Interesting statement. He uses the word now. Nobody now is supporting boots on the ground in Ukraine. And the defense minister of Poland, he was asked about Macron's idea to send troops into Ukraine. And the defense minister of Poland stated that the Polish army will not be in Ukraine. The defense minister said, "We will help. We will continue the support. We are making further donations of equipment. There is a lot to do. There's a lot to it." That is what the defense minister of Poland said. So you have three defense ministers, two of them, Germany and Poland, pretty much ruling out no boots on the ground in Ukraine. The defense minister of Finland saying right now, no boots on the ground in Ukraine, but he's kind of opening the possibility, opening up the possibility that maybe in the future, boots on the ground in Ukraine could be something that Finland could support. But for right now, Finland is not on board. Three defense ministers saying no boots on the ground, pretty much. Let's now go to EU foreign ministers, or at least one EU foreign minister, and that is Mr. Sikorski, the foreign minister of Poland. He is a super duper neocon. I'm sure he's very upset, very sad, very shaken at the abrupt retirement of one of the neocons, is chief priestesses, right? Victoria Nuland. I'm sure that the entire neocon crowd is very shaken up at the retirement of Nuland. And Sikorski's the guy that was not only involved in the 2014 Maidan coup, he was actually in Ukraine, in Kiev, when the whole Maidan coup went down. But the Sikorski's the guy who will always, forever be known for sending out the tweet, "Thank you, USA," right after the Nord Stream pipeline was blown apart. that was his tweet. "Thank you, USA," with a photo of the gases rising out of the sea right there. "Thank you, USA." That is Sikorski's claim to fame. But he's a top level neocon. You have a top level neocon as foreign minister in Poland, and then you have a neoliberal globalist in Tusk as prime minister. That's pretty much the European Union right there. Globalist neolibs, globalist neocons. And you have that perfectly expressed in the Polish government. Anyway, Sikorski, he's open to the idea of troops in Ukraine, or at least he's not shutting the door to Macron's idea of sending troops to Ukraine. The presence of NATO forces in Ukraine is not unthinkable. That is what Sikorsky said at some sort of Poland NATO event or summit or something that was taking place. And Sikorsky said, in Korea in the 50s, there was a coalition of UN countries that fought against aggression. So it can't be said that this is something unthinkable. So I appreciate the recent French initiative. The ability of asymmetric escalation should also be on our side. And Sikorsky also said that it's good to keep this kind of strategic ambiguity. So Macron, in his statement of perhaps we could or we should send troops into Ukraine, keeps Putin off balance, according to Sikorsky. Putin just doesn't know what the European Union is going to do because they're keeping strategic ambiguity. They're keeping Putin off balance. Are they going to send troops? Are they not? Are they going to send troops? Are they not? It's Napoleon-like chess moves from Macron. That's why he's called Little Napoleon. Anyway, yeah, that is what Sikorsky said. Notice he talks about asymmetric escalation, something that Nuland was pushing in her final 2 weeks before she retired. So that is Sikorsky. And Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, he was speaking at the EPP, the European People's Party in Bucharest, the EPP that just nominated Ursula von der Leyen for a second term as EU Commissioner. Tusk was speaking at this event, and he said, and I quote, "The times of peace are over. The post-war era is over. We are living through new times. The pre-war era, the fight against totalitarian trends, corruption, and lies is taking place on many fronts. The most dramatic illustration of this is, of course, what is happening in the war in Ukraine. We are facing a simple choice. Either we fight to protect our borders, territory, and values, and defend our citizens and future generations, or accept the alternative that is defeat." The European Union is having a complete meltdown now that the reality of the situation in Ukraine has finally started to settle in, and they're just having a complete meltdown. And everyone is handling it in their own very different, unique way, but it's a meltdown. It is a complete meltdown. Interesting choice of words from Tusk. We're in the pre-war era. So Tusk is expecting a war. Is that what he is trying to say? And then he talks about fighting totalitarian trends, corruption, and lies. It's taking place on many fronts as well, according to Tusk, on many fronts. He's talking about Russia and China and the Middle East and stuff like that when he's saying it's taking place on many fronts. But it's the EU that has to fight totalitarian trends and corruption. Really, EU? Really? Are you guys the ones that have to fight totalitarian trends and corruption? Or are you projecting, Donald Tusk? Anyway, that was the statement from Tusk and Politico. They put out an article talking about how France is preparing for war, though in this article from Politico, they don't name the country that France is preparing for war with, but they say that this country that France is preparing for war with is just as strong as France. And obviously they're referencing Russia. But I would say that Russia is a lot stronger than France. But anyway, Politico, they put out an article with the title, "French Soldiers Train for the Killing Fields of Europe. The world has revealed its true nature. Unstable, dangerous, and not everyone is a friend," said a senior French colonel. The killing fields of Europe. Yeah, that's quite a picture that Politico is painting there. And basically the story is about how there's this huge training camp in France where the French military is getting as close to real operations training, like real military action. This is as close as you can get. And it's this huge area in France, like 120 kilometers or 120 square kilometers, this huge training camp. And they're preparing for a big conflict in Europe. But they don't name the enemy, even though we all know they're talking about Russia. So, you know, the European Union, the leaders of the EU, the globalists, the globalist political class in the EU, they're shifting the narrative, I think. That's the way I see it. And everyone is doing it in their own strange way. Macron is taking the lead, but they know that Ukraine has lost this conflict. At least I hope they finally realize that Ukraine has lost this conflict. And now they're trying to shift the narrative away from Project Ukraine and money to Ukraine and as long as it takes, and Ukraine is going to achieve victory, and Putin's going to be overthrown, and regime change and all of that stuff. And they're now slowly starting to shift it to war in Europe. We need to prepare for conflict in Europe against Russia. And so all the money that we were sending to Ukraine and the grift, the money washing that was going to Ukraine, well, now we're going to have to bring it into Europe, and we're going to have to put that money into the military-industrial complex. And over the next 5 years, we have to prepare for a smash with Russia, and that's going to need a lot of money and a lot of investment and a lot of washing. The washing machine is going to have to go round and round and round. But you know, it's actually quite a better situation if you're a globalist in the EU. This is not a bad situation. You can keep the fear going. So you keep your citizens very fearful, very afraid of the evil Putin and war coming to Europe. So you ramp up the fear in your population. You get the military spending going, and it's actually quite good for the globalist class, because this time around you can keep all of the money that's being spun in this washing machine on defense spending. You don't have to share any of it with Zelensky and his production staff. You know, there's really no 10% for the big guy either. So it's not a bad grift, this shift from Project Ukraine to Project EU war with Russia, right? It's not a bad shift at all. And of course, you keep everyone afraid, so they just don't have the time to blame you for for the terrible policy and decisions you made with Project Ukraine. The population in Europe, they're going to be so afraid of a conflict with Russia that they're not going to have 5 minutes to just take a deep breath and say, you know what? Our leaders in Europe, they really screwed up this whole Project Ukraine thing. Hey, you guys told us that Putin was going to collapse, the Russian economy was going to collapse, and Ukraine was going to win. Whatever happened to those promises? They're not going to give the people of Europe an opportunity to ask those questions, because now you have to talk about a conflict in Europe. It's a very, very nice shift that Macron is leading the way in. So let's now talk about the one leader in Europe who understands what's going on, and that is Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. And Orban, he made a trip to the United States, but not to meet with Joe Biden. He actually snubbed Joe Biden, and he went straight to Florida, to Mar-a-Lago, and he met with Trump. And the Collective West media, they completely freaked out. They really freaked out. Here is how CNN covered Orban's trip to the United States and his meeting with Trump. Orban meeting offers preview of Trump's second-term strongman idealizations. This is a preview of what's to come from a Trump presidency, meeting with strongmen. Oh boy, let me read you the first paragraph from CNN. Viktor Orban is taking his blueprint on dismantling democracy to Mar-a-Lago, The Hungarian prime minister first won power through a democratic election, then proceeded to weaken the institutions of that democracy by eroding the legal system, firing civil servants, politicizing business, attacking the press, and intimidating opposition parties, and demagoguing migration. He won 5 elections, 5 internationally recognized elections, 5, and he won because he dismantled everything. He dismantled all the beautiful, wonderful democracy that the globalists and the George Soros types set up in Hungary. That's how Orban won. They admit that he won a democratic election, but how did he win the other 4 elections? Well, he dismantled all the structures of democracy that we had in place. And the Hungarian people, they just accepted that, right? They were like, yeah, go ahead, Orban, dismantle everything. And we'll vote you in another 4 more times as you dismantle our democracy. This is also projection. They love to project. Everything that CNN is saying here is really what the European Union and what the Biden administration, that's how they handle democracy. They're the ones that are dismantling democracy, not Orban. Not Orban, but it all goes back to the definition of democracy. I think Mike Benz, he said it best when he was on Tucker Carlson, that for the globalists, they have a very different definition of democracy. We see democracy as people, all people, everyday people voting for their leaders. But their definition of democracy is institutions, the elite, and institutions and organizations voting for their leaders or appointing their leaders. Once you understand that our definition of democracy is different from the globalist class's definition of democracy, everything makes sense. And so that's what Mike Benz said when he was on Tucker Carlson. And I believe he was on Tucker's show maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. So definitely check it out. So Zelensky was in Turkey, and he met with Erdogan. And Zelensky went to Turkey because he's looking for money, weapons. I need money, weapons, Mr. Erdogan. So he's looking for money and weapons and ammo and stuff like that from Erdogan. And what Erdogan offered to Zelensky is peace talks. That is what he offered Zelensky. He said that Turkey would be more than happy to mediate peace talks again between Russia and Ukraine. But it was Zelensky's last meeting with Erdogan. He's visited Erdogan twice since the start of the special military operation, and the first time he went to see Erdogan last year, that was when Erdogan agreed to release the Azovstal prisoners, the NAZIs, that Erdogan was holding on behalf of Russia. They put together that deal to get those NAZIs out of Mariupol, out of the Azovstal, and Erdogan said, I'll hold them in Turkey and I won't release them. That's my promise to you, Putin. And last year, Zelensky went to meet with Erdogan, and Erdogan released those guys. So who knows? Maybe something else will be announced by Erdogan, given what they agreed on last time Erdogan met with Zelensky. You never know with Erdogan. You never know. He's hit or miss, that guy. But he did say something very interesting the other day, and that is that he will not seek re-election in 2028. Erdogan is hanging it up when his term ends in 2028. So that was an interesting bit of news coming out of Turkey. So Zelensky is not very happy with his diplomatic corps, with his foreign ministry, and Strana, a very reliable Ukraine publication, they are saying that the foreign minister of Ukraine is on his way out. Kuleba is about to be fired or told to resign. And this has to do with the fact that Zelensky is just not happy with the work that Kuleba or Kalua or whatever his name is doing at the foreign ministry, appointing Zelensky as ambassador of the UK, along with Reznikov, two ambassadors from Ukraine in the UK. Maybe Kuleba is going to be the third ambassador to the UK. I don't know. It seems like everyone that wants to jump off the sinking ship that is Project Ukraine, they go to London. That's the way it's looking. But yeah, you know, they're all starting to jump ship. They're all starting to jump ship now, and it looks like the foreign minister will be the next very high-level official of Zelensky's administration, whether he's fired or he resigns, or if he agreed with Zelensky, it's time for me to go before everything collapses. He's bolting. He is bolting. So we'll see where he ends up. Most likely the UK. That seems to be where everyone from Project Ukraine is going. So let's talk very quickly about Biden's plan for Gaza. He mentioned this at his State of the Union address, that Biden is putting together a plan to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. And Biden's plan is that he is going to get the Marines to build a port, a pier in Gaza. And they're going to build this port and pier in 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever. And then they're going to be delivering humanitarian aid and food via a port in Gaza to the Palestinians who are suffering from so much, but hunger now. Now they are suffering from, or they're in danger of starvation. And instead of what Biden has been doing, is he's been dropping the food, parachuting the food, airdropping the food into Gaza, 30,000 food supplies, whatever he's been dropping over the past week or so. But you have 2 million people in Gaza who are facing starvation. And so Biden's plan, what he said at the State of the Union, is they're going to build a port, a pier. And Biden, as he was heading to Pennsylvania the other day, a journalist asked Biden, who's going to provide the security as you build this port in Gaza? And Biden said Israel's going to provide the security. That's the plan. So Israel is going to provide security to the U.S. military as they take 6 weeks or 8 weeks to build a port in Gaza, so then they can start shipping humanitarian aid and food into the region. That's Biden's plan. And a lot of Collective West media, even the Collective West mainstream media, they're questioning this plan. They have a lot of doubts about whether this plan is realistic or even possible, or if it's even going to happen. And they're even questioning this Biden build a port in Gaza plan. Wouldn't it be easier? I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing things rationally. But wouldn't it just be easier, Biden, to just tell Netanyahu, ceasefire for 6 weeks? Do it now. I'm ordering you to a ceasefire in 6 weeks. Otherwise, you're not going to get any more money or weapons from us. And then Netanyahu will agree to a ceasefire. Isn't that easier? And then you can get the humanitarian aid in. Isn't a phone call to Netanyahu easier than building a port or a pier or whatever? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a phone call is harder if you're Biden. But anyway, that's Biden's plan. So let's do a little walk this way, and we'll do our clown world. Oh boy, very quiet today on this Saturday. Very, very quiet. So let's see here, this clown world for today. There's a video that's floating around the interwebs. I guess you could say this very short video has kind of gone viral, but it's not a recent video. It looks like this is a video from maybe the G20 or something like that, an event that took place, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't know. I don't know when this video took place, but it's for some reason it's gone viral now. And I understand why it's gone viral, because it's an interesting, like 15 seconds, 20-second video. And I say it's probably from a G20 event because you can see MBS is in attendance there. So this was some sort of G20 event or something that was taking place. And it's a video which shows Justin Trudeau standing over Russian President Vladimir Putin. And Justin Trudeau is getting a bit handsy with Putin. You can tell that Trudeau is getting a bit aggressive, or at least that's how it looks in this video. I think if you look very closely, you can even see that as Trudeau is talking to Putin, MBS is sitting right behind them. But as Trudeau is talking to Putin, I think Trudeau is actually like touching Putin as well, like touching his chest, like just, I don't want to say pushing him, but just kind of putting his hands on Putin ever so slightly. I think if you look closely enough at the video, that's what you can see. But you can definitely see that Trudeau is getting a bit aggressive, maybe you could say, with Putin. He's definitely telling Putin something. And then it looks like one of Putin's security guys, one of his bodyguards, comes and approaches Putin. And it looks like he's about to who knows what he's going to do to Justin? Let's just leave it like that. Who knows what he is going to do to the Prime Minister of Canada? But as the security guy approaches Putin, he tells the security guard, he just gives a hand motion and just signals to the security guard, all cool, it's all under control. And Putin's security backs away. It looks like Putin saved Trudeau from a beatdown. I don't know. I don't know. But what an interesting video. I wonder what Trudeau was telling Putin. What was he telling Putin, Trudeau? Putin, very cool character. He just gives the hand motion. It's all cool. I got it under control. And that was it. Justin was spared. Anyway, check out the video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think went down there. But yeah, that's the clown world, I guess, for today. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. And we got some specials going on. I'm sure there's some coupons on the Duran shop. And like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Take care.